Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are looking at a moment that sent shockwaves far beyond the Kerch Strait and rattled the foundations of power in the Black Sea region. This is the story of why the Crimea Bridge in flames became one of the most disturbing images for the Kremlin and a symbol of vulnerability that could not be ignored. For years, the Crimea Bridge stood as a statement rather than just infrastructure. It was meant to show permanence, control, and the idea that Crimea's future had been sealed. Every span of concrete carried political meaning. The bridge was built quickly and with enormous attention. It was celebrated as an engineering triumph and a national achievement. Cameras followed its construction from the first pillar to the final opening. When it opened, it immediately changed the reality on the ground. Supplies moved faster, travel became easier. The peninsula felt more connected than ever before, but beneath the celebration there was a strategic calculation. The bridge was not just for civilians. It was a military lifeline that allowed rapid movement of equipment, fuel, and personnel. That importance also turned it into a single point of failure. Analysts warned early on that such a massive and visible structure could never be fully protected. Its value made it a target. As the war in Ukraine escalated, Crimea's role shifted. What once felt secure began to feel exposed. Air defences were strengthened and security around the bridge tightened. Despite these measures, the bridge could not disappear from the map. It remained fixed, predictable, and essential. In modern conflict, that combination is dangerous. When flames first appeared on the bridge, the impact was immediate. Images spread across social media and global news within minutes. The shock was not just about damage, but about symbolism. The bridge burning challenged the idea of control. It suggested that even the most guarded assets could be reached. Confidence was shaken on multiple levels. For ordinary people in Crimea, the flames brought fear and uncertainty. Traffic stopped, long delays followed, daily routines were suddenly disrupted, supplies became less reliable. Prices fluctuated. The sense of normal life that the bridge once supported began to erode. For the military, the consequences were even more serious. Logistics plans had to be rewritten overnight. Detours added time and risk. Every additional kilometer meant more fuel and more exposure. What had once been a smooth route became a complicated puzzle. Inside Russia, the narrative struggled to keep pace with reality. Official statements emphasized control and quick repairs, but the images told a different story. The bridge in flames became a powerful symbol for critics. It represented the limits of force and the fragility of imposed control. For Ukraine, the bridge was not just infrastructure. It was a symbol of occupation and domination. Its damage carried deep strategic meaning. Internationally, reactions were mixed. Some saw escalation risks. Others viewed it as a natural consequence of prolonged conflict. The bridge's burning also exposed how modern warfare has changed. Precision and intelligence can now challenge even massive structures. Concrete and steel are no longer guarantees of security. Visibility itself can become a weakness. Repairs began quickly. Crews worked under heavy protection. Authorities promised restoration and resilience, but even as sections reopened, something had changed. The sense of inevitability was gone. The bridge no longer felt untouchable. Each new closure or delay reinforced that feeling. Confidence does not return as easily as traffic. The psychological impact was profound. Symbols matter in war, and this one burned brightly. For soldiers relying on steady supply lines, uncertainty adds pressure. For civilians, it adds anxiety. The bridge's flames also raised questions about the future of Crimea. Dependence on a single route now seemed risky. Alternative paths were explored, ferries increased, land corridors gained importance. None of these options matched the bridge's efficiency. Each came with vulnerabilities and limitations. The bridge had once simplified everything. Its damage complicated everything. As months passed, the bridge continued to operate in reduced capacity. Surveillance increased. Restrictions became routine. Life adjusted, but uneasily. Travel plans were made with backup options in mind. The burning of the bridge marked a turning point in perception. Crimea was no longer presented as completely secure. The image of flames lingered in public consciousness. It was replayed, analyzed, and remembered. In politics, images often matter more than statements. This image spoke loudly. It suggested that control based on infrastructure can be challenged. It suggested that no project is immune. For the Kremlin, this was the nightmare scenario. A symbol meant to show strength instead revealed vulnerability. The bridge had been showcased as proof of permanence. Flames suggested impermanence. The message resonated beyond Crimea. Other strategic assets were suddenly reconsidered. Defense planning had to adapt. Protection strategies evolved. But the fundamental reality remained. Fixed structures cannot move, they cannot hide. The bridge's story became a case study in modern conflict. How symbols become targets, how visibility creates risk. For observers, the lesson was clear. Infrastructure can shape wars, but it can also define their weaknesses. The bridge in flames did not collapse entirely, but its meaning did. It was no longer just a connector. It became a reminder that power is fragile, that control requires more than construction. As the conflict continues, the bridge remains under watch. Every movement is monitored, every incident amplified. The flames may fade, but their impact remains. They changed how Crimea is seen, how it is supplied, and how it is defended. History often turns on moments like this. Not because of destruction alone, but because of what it reveals. Putin's worst nightmare was not just damage to a bridge. It was the loss of certainty, the certainty that Crimea could be held together by concrete and steel, the certainty that symbols could stand unchallenged. The bridge in flames shattered that certainty. And once shattered, it cannot be fully rebuilt. This story is not just about fire and structure. It is about power, perception, and the limits of control. And as long as the conflict continues, the image of the Crimea Bridge in flames will remain a warning. A warning that even the strongest connections can be tested, and sometimes they burn.